let's start on how to understand employee earnings and how the deductions that are going to happen. So you hear these terms loosely, salaries and wages. They are different. Salaries are usually for managerial or administrative services, and usually I pay a salary biweekly, monthly, or annually. So when you hear the word salaries as compared to wages, they really do mean different things, but they do mean pay. Both of them are being paid for some. Wages are usually done in hours. You're paid per hour or per week or per units produced. So there's actually a difference between the terminology. When you're doing the work for this chapter, whatever the chapter calls it, that's what you should call it. Now, I am doing this in California, and California has certain labor laws. The biggest and only labor law we have in California right now is overtime. And the Fair Labor Standards Act, or the FLSA, says this: I have to pay you overtime, and overtime constitutes 1.5 times my regular rate to any hourly employee who works over 40 hours in a week. Well, it should also say, or more than 8 hours a day. So anything over 40 hours in a week and or 8 hours a day, unless your contract says elsewise. And we'll get into that later on. So some salary employees are exempt from this. So some salaries, meaning that I'm paid monthly or biweekly, that type of thing, would be exempt from that. So the first thing we're going to figure out how to do here is how to calculate your earnings. If I'm doing it based upon time, hourly, there's got to be some mechanism to keep track of the time. Most companies will have time cards, or they'll have a badge where you clock in, you clock out, and I take the hours worked and multiply by the rate to figure out your total earnings. Payroll chapters are usually pretty easy to understand because everybody understands how we get paid. So here's my first example. Helen works 55 hours this week. Her regular rate of pay is $12 per hour. She's paid 1.5 times the regular rate for hours in excess of 8 on Monday through Friday, and any hours worked on Saturday. But if she works on Sunday, she's paid twice or 2 times the regular rate. She worked 4 hours on Sunday. So she worked 55 hours. So 40 hours is a 40-hour work week. So we know that 15 of those hours was overtime. And of the 15, 4 of them were double time. So 40 hours times 12 plus the 11 hours, because 15 hours was overtime, 4 was at double time. That means 11 was actually at time and a half. And so I take $12 times 1.5 or 1.5. I get 18. So here's this right here. So this is for the 40-hour week. This is for the overtime, but we still have 4 hours on Sunday that she worked at double time. And so my double time rate is twice. So 12 times 2 equals 24. So here's my 4 hours. Okay. So here's my total earnings for the week. This is also called gross pay in payroll. And so from here is where things will be calculated. Now this was an example of hourly. Let's look at a sample of salary. So Linda has a salary of $22.88 a month plus 1.5 times the regular hourly rate for hours in excess of 40 per week. Now here's the problem. All we know is how much she makes per month. So we actually have to back ourselves in to find her hourly rate. And here's how we're going to do it. First, we need to take her annual salary. So she's per month, $22.88 per month times 12 months. So this is her annual salary. Now we're going to calculate her weekly salary, dividing it by 52 weeks. So each week she's paid $528. Now we're going to figure her hourly pay by dividing it by 40. So here is her hourly pay. So she's paid 1.5 times that rate, anything in excess of 40 hours per week. And so her overtime rate is 13.20 times 1.5. That would be her overtime rate. So when she's salary, you always annualize and then break it down 2 months, 2 weeks, and then into the hourly to get that. So next video, we're going to talk about deductions from your earnings. This is how to calculate your earnings.